100 Ks on the Commencal Metapower SX. How is it? Let's go find out. Rightos, welcome back to Sam's Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes, and today it is 100 Ks on the SX. I'm loving this bike, 180, 165 on 29s, the new Shimano EP8 motor, 630 watt battery, and I am with Track Emtb, Jorge and Alvaro, and we are in El Quinto Coño, or El Quinto Pino. That is a Spanish way of saying we are the 5th pine tree away. We're about an hour and a half north of Madrid, and the scenery looks completely different. We're doing a 30K ride and the boys are saying it's pretty hardcore, so I'm glad I've got the big rig. So let's get into it. So Jorge's just told me that we're still going to be climbing for a bit longer. So let's talk about the motor. So obviously the big change for all the bikes in 2021 are getting new Shimano EP8 motors with 630 watt batteries. I'm finding the power, I'm going to say it has more power than the E8000, but I don't think it's got a lot more power. I'm finding it a smoother ride. The motor is really quiet, and it seems to be a very natural feeling. I reckon it's running similar to the Bros for sound. It's very quiet, like I'm climbing right now in trail, and you can barely hear it, or you can hear Jorge and Alvaro's bike more than mine. And let's talk about the clunking. All right, so that was massively reported, and look, for me, I thought it might be a deal breaker because I really hate a noisy bike, but the clunking's not that bad. And yeah, granted, maybe it's case per case, because I think aluminium frames won't conduct that sound as much as carbon, so I'd like to test it on a carbon. But on the aluminium, on the metal, what I'm testing right now, it really isn't a deal breaker. And I've left this part of the trail in so you can hear the clunk or the rattle. I was just saying to Jorge, I want to come back when it's dry, because at the moment, these wet mossy rocks, they're kind of like sniper roots. You need to show a lot of careful riding. I want to come back here and boost through this stuff. Riders, I want to take this moment while we're messing around to thank everyone for supporting the channel. Thank Commencal for sending me the bike, and thank Schwarby for partnering with the channel. You know, riders, if you want to ask me any questions about this bike or anything else, you know, I answer everyone, and that's kind of like my thing. It does take me a pretty long time, but ask me anything and I'll definitely get back to you. Okay, I take it back. I was saying the EP8 doesn't have that much more power than the E8000. Oh, it definitely does. Whoa! Yeah, man, they're like sniper roots there. Has a bit more. It seems, I mean, I still need to do testings. Riders, remember, this is only 100 Ks. It seems to really like high cadence, around 80 to 100. And the way it delivers the power to the pedals is very smooth. And now we're in a river. Venga, venga, you! We're with Jorge, who is, I call him the Punisher on the downhills and the mountain goat on the uphills. The guy can climb. Starting the first downhill, and we're a little bit happy because it seems dry. So we might be able to put the SX through its paces a little bit. So you might have heard me harping on about e-bikes and saying enduro bikes are probably the best option for one bike. We just did some pretty techie climbing. Okay, it's a 180, 165 travel bike, and it's on 27s. It climbed pretty bloody well. Okay, probably the SL, or probably a 29er does climb better, but it's marginal. definitely planted and plush with that coil rear shock. It's definitely plush. And with 63-degree head angle, when it's not so steep, doesn't feel too slow for turning either. It's got a 445 chainstay, which is pretty short. Makes it shorter with 27s as well. Ooh, that's a bit tech. So we've just done 10 kilometers of pretty hardcore, I would say, enduro, up and down. And I have used with the 630 watt battery, I've been in trail, I would say about 90% of the time. I used 1 bar. I mean, Jorge is running an E7000 with 60 newton meters, and he's got a 500 watt battery. And he said he's been in trail the whole time as well. And we pretty much both used 1 bar at the same time. Shimano are claiming it is more efficient on battery usage, but I don't think it's that much. I will do a good test on it. It is crazy how, for a relatively small country, and Madrid, the surrounding areas are so distinctively different. You know, one thing I was saying about 27s and 29s, I reckon I ride a 27 differently. I reckon I dominate the bike more. On a 27, I sit more over the front of the bike, and on a 29, I'm more back over the back of it. I'm not sure which is better. I love the people that get super fiery and debating about which is better. They're bikes, they're both good. Yeah, if you're racing, probably 29s or mullets have their benefit. I love all bikes, and I think also as riders we're pretty clever. Our bodies adapt, our minds adapt to what we're riding very quickly. And that's why I kind of like doing that first shakedown ride, because it really gives you that first impression, because after a couple of rides, it just feels normal. You stop picking up on those small details. It's super beautiful. We're in a gully and either side are cliffs, and there's a river down below. Super beautiful. Never been here before. Very nice ride. I'm about 75 k's on the bike. I would say, do I like it? Yes, it's a great bike. It's definitely what it says on the wrapper. It's definitely a big bike, and it downhills real well. Super confident. Unfortunately, I got a flat tire, and now my tire pressure is a little bit too hard, but I don't want to get another flat tire, so I'm not going to be pushing it that hard. But all in all, I'm really impressed. Great bike. Commencal have done a great job again. Refined it from last year. And the Zeb Ultimas, the 180s, I kind of thought it would all be marketing. You know, like I didn't think you'd get that much more stiffness out of them, but you definitely do. Just feels more like a downhill fork. You can really plow into stuff, and I definitely think if you're running 170 or 180, probably a Zeb or a 38 is definitely going to be a benefit. And now let's talk about all the upgrades that I'm going to do. I've already changed the rental bars and the Industry 9 red 40mm stem 31.8, and I'm going to change, I'm pretty sure, to Magura MT7s with the 220 rotors, and I'm definitely going to put an Industry 9 rear wheel on it, and I might put an Industry 9 front wheel. I'm going to have to order that. And I have, the bike comes stock with 2.4 tires, which are great, but I've been running 2.6, and I've also been riding a 29er a fair bit. I just kind of feel like I want a little bit more traction, so I'm going to put 2.6 on there. Also going to probably get a Cane Creek progressive spring, just because I want to feel the difference. And I'd have to say the coil on the back makes it super plush. It's actually the first time I've really ridden a longish period on a coil, and I like it. I haven't done many jumps on it yet, and I'm thinking that maybe it won't have the progression I want for jumping, but that's just maybe. And also my mate Iago's got some 170 36 Fox that's sitting around his house. So I'm thinking of mulleting it and trying 170 at the front. So that should keep the geometry in check. And just put a 29er on the front. Because I know some people would be thinking about that. And also a lot of people will be thinking the 29er or the SX. I would say both bikes have great geometry. They're both going to do what they say. They're big, they are big enduro bikes. Maybe for the littler rider or someone that wants to jump more or wants to play more, the SX is going to be a better option. So here we should hear the rattle of the motor. And I kind of thought it might be like a loose headset, but it's not as prominent as that at all. Definitely riders for me, and I am a little bit particular, it's not a deal breaker at all. And the terrain's just changed, it's like clay now. Alright, I'd have to say this trail today has been great, but probably more enduro trail orientated than downhill. The bike's gone really well. Whee. But I need to get it to a bike park or some serious downhill trails. We've all got battery fear. We've got one climb to go, and Jorge and Alvaro are on the E7000, which has a 500 watt battery. Yeah, granted they probably were an eco more than me. I was being a bit lazy, but yeah, we're all sort of on the limit now. So I hope we get back. All right, the 100 Ks on the SX is done. We just did 30 Ks and it was up and down, and we did about 1,000 meters of climbing. I was probably a little bit lazy and stayed in trail and maybe boost. I came back with battery fear. Overall, the bike is really good. I need to do some tweaks. I definitely need to set it up tubeless and just play around with suspension a little bit more. But overall, I really enjoyed the bike. It downhills very well. It actually climbs really well for a big super enduro downhill bike. And the new Shimano EP8 doesn't make that much noise when going downhill. It's actually not a deal breaker for me, so can recommend it. And riders, one thing that I do want to test is the battery range, because I thought I was going to get more range. So over the Christmas break, I will do a test on that. And riders, put a comment below what you want me to test, what you want me to do. Reach out, let me know. Love to know. Have a great Christmas, New Year, and stay safe out there. Get lots of riding done, and I'll see you next week.